it's just amazing. I think every time that we do an event, we just realize how many people are working in the space and how much talent is already growing, and it's kind of it's kind of amazing, because sometimes you join the space and think, oh, this is something new. Not much must be happening, but there's a lot of things going on. And for this panel, I invited few special guests, and we're going to go for a quick round of introductions. And maybe we can start with Pauline, which is closer to me.
Sounds good. You've heard a little bit about me already. I'm the co-founder of Unik Labs. We're building a fashion and lifestyle metaverse. And that's about me. Yeah. That's about it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashumi Sanghvi. I'm the founder and CEO of Mad Global. I just want to firstly say thank you. I'm always so humbled and honored to be given a voice and a platform to be able to share my experience and my story. And also to Jared, obviously, there's so much hard work that goes behind putting together events like this. So really, it's just hugely appreciated. I started Mad 12 years ago. Mad Global is the umbrella company, and there's two companies underneath that. Mad Productions is the first company. It's been around for 12 years. It's a creative production services company. It's still very much operating in the Web2 space. We work primarily with fashion, luxury, and art clients to be able to deliver omni-channel content and productions for events. We do global ad campaigns around the world in films, stills, and digital content. And then on the Web3 side was something that happened quite organically. It was a convergence of the experience, my personal experience. I started really exploring and researching about blockchain. I was introduced to it by a friend. I started just, reading a lot of white papers, and I think, like many people here, I fell into a rabbit hole, like we like to call it. And that's really how my journey started. And I think, it sort of led me to just keep learning. And I initially started finding innovative ways to use immersive technology, specifically augmented reality, on the use cases that I was working in primarily for fashion. And then, of course, COVID happened, and it was really, again, it was like an awakening to kind of like find new ways to immerse and engage with people in these new digital realities. So it was a really sort of almost spiritual moment for me to ask myself, what is it that I'm doing, and how can I better communicate and connect people in these new digital realities? Fast forward to what it is we're doing today. Again, I think a lot of in the Web3 space and the Web3 agency that we run, we work with a lot of fashion and art and luxury clients as well, specifically in those areas. But it's also about helping people find relevance and purpose to what it is they're doing in this space. It's very nuanced. There's lots of information out there. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors as well. So it's really about like kind of helping trying to find ways in which to better navigate what is this space means, and kind of pulling out those threads of what the project necessarily stands for. So we do a lot of things. There's a lot of things under the scope of scope of services that we provide under the umbrella of services that we provide. But I think primarily right now we're also involved in doing a lot of consulting and advisory, because a lot of it has to do around education and getting more people onboarded. And obviously the reason I'm sitting up here is because there's so much knowledge share that also happens within communities in this space. I'm personally very involved at a grassroots level in many communities. And I'm going to pass it over to Irina here, who of course is from Bright Moments, and I'm obviously a very big part of that. So thank you very much.
Hey everyone, my name is Irina. I am a community manager for Bright Moments NFT Gallery in Dell. I fell into NFT space during the pandemic, coming from the music industry, dealing with a lot of burnout when the pandemic started. So while we were all in lockdown, I kind of started researching and fell in love with what was happening. And I kind of realized that the reasons why I was burning out in music industry was all the rejection that was happening, and the Web3 and the NFT space felt really inclusive. Everyone could join. We were all on Clubhouse. We were all talking about things that could happen, and everybody was working together. And I think that was one of the parts where I realized that what I was trying to do in music industry and build the communities there was actually becoming a reality in the NFT space and Web3. And that's how I started my community journey. And now I'm part of Bright Moments. We're traveling the world, building communities in 10 different cities all over the world. Now we're in London, based in Venice Beach, California. And yeah, I've been in London for 3 months now, building the local IRL community here. And we're kind of trying to merge online communities and IRL communities. And the big part of the project is that we're building kind of backwards compared to every other NFT project, that we are doing everything IRL, minting is IRL, we are hosting a lot of events, and we're kind of trying to build stuff online versus every other NFT project is actually building online and now trying to help the community in real life. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Okay. Well, I think we are going to stay with you because all social media was talking about this minting of Londoners. And I guess we should explain what happened there. And also that you own, I think, 2 galleries, a little bit of that, and mostly about the minting and the experience.
Sure. Yeah, so we are currently in London minting crypto Londoners, and it's an IRL minting process. That's why we have a lot of community members coming in real life to Mayfair to actually mint their crypto Londoner. They have to show up to the gallery to do it. You can't actually get it online. So that's kind of a big part of the project. And the way it happens, which I think one of my favorite parts of the project is that for some people, they might think that it's counterintuitive, but we give away a lot of these NFTs to the community. So we only sell 1/3 of NFTs and the rest of it is given to people. So when we come to the new city, for example, I came to London almost a little bit more than 2 months ago. I started meeting people in the community and we just started giving these NFTs to onboard people. For some of them, it's the very first NFT they got. Some people heard of us and they showed up to support. So we only sell 333 NFTs, and 333 is airdropped to the holders in different cities. So they all have a chance. If they hold an NFT from LA and New York, now they got a chance to get a London one. And then 334 is giving to local people. It could be anyone. We give them in the parks. I gave away some to street performers. A lot of people that come to our meetups, they can get nominated, and then our community members in different cities actually read all the nominations and read about people in London, and then they vote for them. That's how they get voted in and they get to mint completely free of cost. They just show up to the gallery and do it. And that's my favorite part of this project, that we get to onboard so many people from different backgrounds. We get to teach them. We get to help them get their wallet for the first time. A lot of people show up before minting and we're helping them to download the wallet, teach them about security. We're partnered with Ledger right now, so a lot of people can actually come and learn about hardware wallet before minting their first NFT, which I think is very important. So by the time they mint it, they're kind of set up and ready to go and learn a lot of aspects of it. And we host a lot of meetups, IRL events. So every Thursday we have events, every Sunday we have Sunday brunches for our holders. And anybody who wants to join the community can come in and join us. And yeah, that's been our journey with Crypto Londoners.
Yeah, totally. We couldn't ignore that.
I want to just add to that because I am also a crypto Londoner. I've been a part of the community from when they came to London, and it was a very sort of organic word of mouth way that they actually have onboarded people. And I remember the very first meetup I went to was relatively small, I would say, but along the way they've really sort of gotten so much organic momentum. And now, of course, I know that the list is closed, but everyone suddenly wants to be part of this. And just from the live minting part of it, it was probably one of the most poetic experiences. I think anyways, there's something about the mechanics of when you mint an NFT, there's something about the mechanics of doing those actions that really kind of speaks to me. I don't know if it's the same for anyone else here, but doing it IRL and doing it in such a almost bespoke format was so emotionally connecting that it kind of just made me want to go out and get every single other crypto citizen from all the other cities. So I just want to say, of course, that was a really amazing part of the IRL experience, the emotional connection.
Totally don't miss the bright moments minting happening or happened recently. And moving to another topic, and today we kind of title the theme from Metaverse to Fashion3. And I guess from what we have talked, I think the most difficult concept is Fashion3. I'm not sure if it's even official term.
I think it was the first time I heard it when I saw it on
Yeah. So how you would introduce someone to Web3 fashion or Fashion3?
I think it really just also ties back to the whole aspect of digital ownership. But fashion in expressing yourself in these new digital realities also ties back to the self, ties back to the concept of identity, you know, how we would express ourselves in some of these digital realities or metaverses or online spaces becomes something that is going to become increasingly more important because we spend more time in those spaces. So just as, you know, we use fashion as a medium to express who we are and, you know, I guess what tribe we belong to or what we kind of, you know, feel connected with, it's an inflection point of culture. And that's exactly what I would say is what Fashion3 is for Web3. Fashion is for Web3.
Do you think that is it always related with the Metaverse, or what is the relation between Fashion3 and Metaverse? Are they in love or they are fighting?
I would say they're very much in love. It's the early stage of the relationship, though, so they're kind of talking, but not really yet sure where it's going to end up. So I think connecting to what you were saying before, we've always expressed ourselves online. I mean, always. By always, I mean since the internet came around, which was before I was born. So now it's just about taking this self-expression and moving it, basically following the natural transition of self-expression on a different level. And I think into the metaverse is kind of like, there are platforms that will be used by many people. They're going to be digital. You're going to want to represent yourself in some way. I mean, think of Microsoft Teams and using avatars there, for example, in case you've done that before, or you should check it out. It's about basically representing yourself and being yourself or being someone else, depending on who you want to be in different settings. So I think the settings part is a really interesting one that I like to talk about, where you have like the choice. Do you want to be, I don't know, someone completely different from who you are in real life, or do you want to show yourself the way you are? And that could depend on the different settings where you represent yourself. Is it a work meeting or just a hangout with friends? So that they're in love. They're in love. Yeah.
Very good news. We have a scoop. One thing that I realized over these last few months that I got more into Web3 is that one of the ways that I see now in the future people interacting with the blockchain and Web3 is fashion. And I think it would be through that interaction. Some people say that it may come on Instagram, that you make a picture and then it will recognize some garment and then it will become a digital version of it, and then it will bring you to some metaverse or some, what's the name? An overlay, an augmented reality kind of effect. And it might not be that far away if you think about what people is, how people is using these applications. And what do you think about this? Do you think that fashion may be the way for the masses to get into Web3?
I would say something about that very quickly. I was actually at NFT NYC a few weeks ago, and I attended an event by The Fabricant, who's like a big player in the space, in the digital fashion space. I would say probably the biggest. And there was this really cool event where they had different acts, different DJs, and then they also had this QR code could scan, and you were able to basically download the Snapchat filter where they would provide this digital jacket that looked really cool. You could just project it on yourself, so you were able to like take videos with it and photos and produce content. So you were able to share that online as well, of course. So that was kind of, I would say, a good bridge for people who hadn't heard about digital fashion before to use it for the first time, because it always sounds very like alien to, I don't know, talking about digital fashion. Like most people just go like, what, why? So that was a good bridge, I think.
And I have a question for Ibana. Sorry, Irina. I was thinking about Ibana, who's helping me with the after party. Irina, sorry. Why is so important building a community in Web3? And what do you think you can work on creating an NFT project and focusing on building that community that a lot of people may be in that stage right now?
I think in the past 2 years, seeing all the projects that are being built, we can see that the strongest ones that came out and are still, popular and people love them are the ones that with the strongest community. And during this bear market, it was pretty clear where the real communities are and where the pump and dump communities were, because you can see the ghost town that's happening in all of those places, in Discords. You can tell where people are still hanging out and they're enjoying to be there, or where it's completely done because the floor price is not there and the prices are not, for people, it's not enough of incentive to hang out there. And I think projects that are taking time to build, and it could be building online, it could be building IRL, it could be doing both. And we can see a lot of projects like Bored Apes and Gutter Cats and World of Women right now trying to combine both and build on Discord, build on social media, and also host different events for people to kind of come together and meet each other. And I personally made some connections during these kind of events. I think taking time and being patient and building these communities is the most important, and being consistent. And it also relates to artists as well, because if we're talking about PFP projects, of course, that became Web3 community, it became a big part of it. But also when artists want to go into Web3 and NFTs, it becomes really important to build, and they need to figure out like what the intentions are. Do they want to have a better relationship with their collectors? Do they want to maybe build a community that will be supporting their art projects and buying their NFTs? And I think for any kind of artist, PFP project, Web3 project with different utilities, it's really important to build these communities. And I think from what we've been doing right now in London, seeing the generative artists coming and meeting their collectors and seeing how special that becomes, and how these collectors are probably never selling these pieces after meeting the artists, it becomes pretty clear that this personal human connection is still very important, even though we're kind of moving to being on Discord all the time and being on Twitter and interacting. But I think, of course, when you meet people behind those PFPs and those avatars, it becomes even more special.
About the connection in real life and connecting with the artists that you've been following for a while, or the artists whose NFT you've bought in the past. I've seen some really beautiful scenes at specific events at NFT NYC, where there were artists invited, but also people building in the space, and also just NFT collectors who trade with NFTs. So I saw some people coming together and like queuing up for hours just to say hello to the artist that has created their, I don't know, first NFT, for example. And it was just really, really lovely to see how excited people were. It's the same with traditional art, of course, but just it will never be without the real life connection and like actually meeting the people that you're sharing the space with. Even though like we're creating the metaverse, we're not saying that these connections shouldn't happen any opposite.
I have a tricky question, and this is for Ashumi. What are phygital garments? This is a word that I found, and I was like, okay, what is this?
Okay, so
Phygital.
phygital, technically the term really means a combination of physical and digital. And I think there's some really innovative use cases that haven't really been, I guess, very widely adopted, but it is the idea of augmented reality being used on a physical garment to be able to enhance that. That's what I would consider phygital.
And there's any examples from big brands around a phygital garment that has been released recently or that you are thinking about?
There's actually one really recent example. I also mentioned it briefly in the talk before. His name is G Money, and he launches the first Web3 native luxury brand for fashion. And he is releasing digital fashion to his holders, NFT holders, and those people will then be able to go to the store and exchange it, or I'm not sure if there will be a physical store, but they will be able to exchange it for a physical piece as well. So they can basically dress themselves IRL the way that they would dress their avatar using his fashion.
I think I think Artifact did that as well when they had first launched their digital sneakers. They had a physical version that accompanied the digital sneakers. So that was a combination of the physical and digital aspect, I think, also.
Irina, how do you see these phygital garments? Do you think that they play an important role for building the community, or how do you see that?
I think so. And I mean, it's just one of the kind of utilities that could be used. And I agree with the girls that a lot of brands are kind of coming into doing that. Adidas is doing that right now with, everyone is kind of dressing up, and with their NFTs that they purchase, they could get their physical tracksuit. And I think it's getting excited for people. And same thing we could see with merch as well. I mean, anyone who went to any NFT events, you could see people right away by having the merch from a specific collection, and it's becoming a really big thing. I think spotting people at the airports became a big thing with wearing merch that comes from a specific collection, and everyone gives you, a little hi to each other and saying hey, we're from the same community, we know each other, So I think these kind of physical things are becoming a big thing, and yeah, I think that's what it's gonna even grow even more. I mean, since I've been in London for 2 months, all the packages that came to my apartment in LA, it's all merch from NFT collections. It's literally all that. So I think that's becoming very representative of things you're passionate about. You're passionate about specific community. You want to have a hat or something that will represent that. So having the NFT and having all of the physical items will be very important.
Right. Well, we want to take some questions, and now you have a little bit of introduction. You know what they know and what they love to talk about. And I would like to have some questions, at least for each of them. So who has a question?
I would like to know what do you think is the future of real fashion in the world? If we're going to spend most of our time online, what's going to happen with human interactions, and when is people actually going to be human?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. I think those were probably more 2 questions, and I will just go and answer the first one first. Or try to. The future of fashion can be many things. One thing that came to mind that wasn't mentioned before, because we've talked a lot about digital fashion and AR fashion, but another really interesting thing that brands are experimenting with now is sort of having, apart from the NFT that matches your IRL handbag, for example, actually linking those 2 up and having this proof of ownership in the physical items as well, so that you can always prove that, I don't know, your expensive handbag from a specific luxury brand is actually from that brand and it's not fake. That's something really interesting that actually some brands have started using it, some luxury fashion brands, I know of that. I just don't want to say any names because I'm not sure which ones they were. So that's one really, really big thing, I think, that is also going to help brands obviously fight counterfeits. Yes, exactly, authentication. I'm going to hand it over to, do you want to make a comment?
Okay, we'll take another question. And this question, if you can target the metaverse, and that will be for Ashumi. Metaverse question, perfect.
Hi, thanks so much. I just wondered, so at the moment, obviously, fashion relies on there being some sort of like big part to play with virtual worlds, whether it's gaming or where we hang out. At the moment, that doesn't necessarily take up a huge part of Web3, I guess. So I'm curious to know how you guys think that evolves. Is it mostly going to be through gaming, or are we all going to be hanging out more and more in Sandbox or wherever? I'm just kind of interested to know what path you see things taking, so that we're all going to be buying wearables and playing a big part and interacting more and more with fashion in the metaverse.
So I think the social media platforms are also like catching up quite quickly on how to express yourself using digital fashion in a lot of, by using augmented reality specifically as overlays. I mean, they first started by face tracking technology that you were able to use for specifically beauty filters, or just, it was kind of almost seen as quite gimmicky. But now specifically also, I think Snapchat is doing quite a lot of, it's kind of moving quite faster ahead in the space, because they have amazing body tracking technology that allows you to actually put the entire garment over your entire body instead of just your face. And then also, I think linking to commerce becomes a really important part, which doesn't make it so gimmicky anymore, because it's not so top of funnel. You get the engagement and you can add to cart. So I think the ease of accessibility across platforms is going to make it much more widely adopted. I think where the gaming platforms are concerned, of course, well, Sandbox is not, it's a beta, it's still in beta. That's not even launched yet really to the public. So that's probably not the right example to use. But like platforms like Decentraland, there's, I think there will be at some point quite a lot of, I guess lots of people are going to start wanting to get customer adoption into their platforms to be able to actually engage in these spaces. And that's going to be the next, I guess, big sort of next frontier of where and which platform sort of leads. Where Decentraland is concerned, it still has, it's still very much activation driven. So people go there when there's a specific place to go. It's not like you'd be sitting around being like, oh, let me just go into Decentraland and see who's there, because there's no one there really.
All right, so we don't have much time. We need to really be leaving before 9 or around 9-ish. So we will go for a last round of final words. If you have anything that you want to share.
Final words.
Closing words.
I will definitely want to invite people to come to our events. We have some events coming up this Thursday, Sunday. If you guys want to come up to me and connect, I would love to share. All of these events are open to public, and we love getting to know the local community here. So if you guys want to come, please find me.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I was actually just at another talk just before this, but and my final words around just what Web3 means to me, especially, and what sort of moved me so much further into this space is really the fact that it's really about mindset. It's just about it's about an attitude, it's about a mindset, it's about staying curious, knowledge sharing, meeting as many people IRL as possible, which you guys have all showed up here. So I think you're pretty much ticked all of those boxes. And then I always kind of end with the 3 C's, which I find really kind of impactful as well. One is contribution, the other is collaboration, and the third is connection. So that's what I would end with.
Awesome.
I'm going to pick it up where Ashumi left it off. So we love to be in touch with people. We love to answer questions about digital fashion, metaverse fashion, everything related to that industry. And we are currently building our community as well. So we have just recently launched our podcast, Fashion of Web3, that I welcome everyone to listen to if you're like, to stay up to date with news about our fashion metaverse. I invite everyone to join our Discord channel. That's where we kind of bring everything together and provide updates on what's going on. Then, yeah, I guess one last thing I wanted to say that kind of connects to the last question as well, and what Ashumi answered about there not being a lot of engagement in these platforms at the moment. I feel like we're really trying to tackle this thing and like bring brand interactions into the metaverse, but in a way that people will want to engage with it on a continuous basis, so that brands can build their audience, engage people not around the clock, but actually make the whole create like a gamified experience of the fashion industry on these platforms. So that's kind of our goal, to fix that gap, to not like have decentralized, like I'm just saying that as an example, could be another platform as well. They're ghost towns, so we're just trying to raise the engagement by actually bringing value to people. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the panel. So first, let's give them a round of applause. I wasn't sure they were going to make it. I mean, I wasn't sure you were going to make it, but some of the panelists were almost not going to make it. Yeah. Today was quite exceptional, I think, in all senses, and because of the weather, the transport disruptions, etc. So I'm very grateful.
The community is strong.
Yeah, the community is strong, and we have succeeded today. And I'm very happy because of that. Okay, thanks again for joining.